What if I told you that some of the most powerful healing plants on earth aren't sitting in a pharmacy? They're growing in your backyard, forgotten in your kitchen, and buried in history books that nobody reads anymore. Most people don't know this, but while we're all running to the drugstore for every cough, every ache, or every infection, there are plants that have been healing humans for thousands of years. Plants that soldiers carried into battle. Plants that kept entire villages alive through centuries of disease, and plants with actual clinical evidence backing them up. Today, I'm going to show you 20 of them that will completely change the way you think about your health. Stick around, because number 17 on this list has been used for more than 2,000 years, and modern scientists have now confirmed that it can fight antibiotic-resistant bacteria that many modern drugs struggle against. And number 20 was literally the original aspirin, long before aspirin even existed, and it's almost certainly growing in a ditch near you right now. Completely free and almost completely forgotten. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We post new videos every week showing you the healing knowledge that got lost when we decided synthetic drugs were the only answer. Now, let's get into it. Let's start with a plant that medieval soldiers literally carried into war. Not as a symbol, not as decoration, but as medicine. Calendula officinalis, also called pot marigold, features those cheerful orange and yellow flowers you've probably walked past 1,000 times without thinking twice about them. Medieval armies called it the war flower because when you had nothing else, no surgeon, no antibiotics, and no sterile equipment, calendula could keep a wound from getting infected and help it heal clean. Modern clinical trials have proven exactly what those soldiers knew. Calendula extracts speed wound healing, including burns and surgical wounds, because the flowers are packed with triterpenoids and flavonoids that have genuine anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Here's the traditional use that still works today. You infuse the dried flowers in olive oil, let it sit for 4 weeks, and strain it, leaving you with a salve that heals minor cuts, scrapes, burns, and inflamed skin faster than leaving them alone, and faster than many over-the-counter creams. Calendula got forgotten for one simple reason. Pharmaceutical companies can't patent a flower. But for anyone who wants safe, effective wound care without a prescription, calendula is still waiting in gardens everywhere as the emergency room that's been there all along. Moving on to Comfrey, a plant that has one of the most honest folk names in all of herbal medicine, Ipon. For centuries, healers applied comfrey root and leaves to broken bones, sprains, bruises, and torn tissue, and they swore it made healing happen faster than anything else. It turns out that they were completely right. Comfrey root contains a compound called allantoin that promotes cell proliferation, literally encouraging your cells to multiply and repair damaged tissue faster. Multiple modern clinical trials have proven that topical comfrey root extract significantly reduces pain and improves function in ankle sprains, back pain, abrasions, and osteoarthritis. These are real, published, peer-reviewed studies. Here is the critical part to remember. Comfrey is for external use only, because the plant contains alkaloids that can damage your liver if taken internally. But used as a salve on the skin over injuries, it is remarkably safe and one of the fastest healers nature offers. Think of it as the plant that literally tells your body to knit itself back together. Then there is elderberry, which has been used in European folk medicine for so long that Hippocrates, the father of medicine, called the elderberry tree his medicine chest. Those deep purple-black berries from the elderflower bush were used for colds, fevers, and infections for thousands of years across every culture in the Northern Hemisphere. Modern immunology has caught up in a striking way. Multiple double-blind clinical trials show elderberry extract significantly reduces the duration and severity of influenza and upper respiratory infections. In fact, one controlled study found it shortened flu duration by an average of 4 days compared to a placebo. The berries contain anthocyanins and flavonoids that directly inhibit viral replication and stimulate immune cytokine production. For traditional preparation, the berries must be cooked because raw elderberries contain compounds that cause nausea. A simple elderberry syrup, simmered with raw honey and cinnamon, is both effective medicine and genuinely delicious. Elderberry never truly disappeared, but we forgot to take it seriously. When cold and flu season hits, this is the plant your great-grandmother reached for first. Yarrow's scientific name tells you everything. Achillea, named after Achilles, the Greek warrior who allegedly used it to stop bleeding in his soldiers' wounds. That is how old and how battle-tested this plant is. The entire above-ground plant, from the feathery leaves to the flat white or pink flower clusters, contains compounds that genuinely shorten bleeding time and promote clotting. Studies confirm its hemostatic effects along with genuine anti-inflammatory and wound-healing properties. But yarrow isn't just for wounds. Traditional herbalists used it internally as a tea for fevers, menstrual problems, and digestive complaints. The plant grows wild across North America and Europe, and you've almost certainly seen those flat-top clusters of tiny white flowers on tall stems on a hike or along a roadside. For anyone spending time outdoors, knowing yarrow means you always have a wound closer within reach. It stops bleeding and heals wounds. While most plants do one or the other, yarrow does both. You might also be familiar with mullein, that tall plant with fuzzy gray-green leaves and a spike of yellow flowers that grows in vacant lots, along roads, and in disturbed soil. You've seen it everywhere and probably never knew what it was. For hundreds of years, it was the first-choice remedy for any lung problem, from congestion and bronchitis to asthma and chest colds with thick mucus. Herbalists called it the lung's best friend. The leaves contain compounds called saponins that act as natural expectorants, helping you cough up mucus instead of letting it sit in your chest and turn into an infection. Reviews confirm mullein's anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial effects on the respiratory system. Traditionally, a tea is made from the dried leaves, carefully strained through fine cloth to remove the tiny surface hairs, and drunk 2 or 3 times daily during chest illness. Mullein doesn't suppress your cough. Instead, it makes your cough productive by helping your lungs do what they're trying to do, get the infection out. And it has been growing wild, free, and ignored at your feet the entire time. This brings us to a plant that everyone has walked past 1,000 times without a second thought. Plantain weed. Not the tropical fruit, but the low-growing weed with oval ribbed leaves and thin flower spikes that grows in lawns, pathways, and disturbed soil everywhere. Native Americans called it white man's footprint because it seemed to grow wherever European settlers walked. But they quickly learned this humble weed could treat cuts, burns, insect bites, and infections better than almost anything else available on the trail. Modern research fully supports this. Studies show plantain has genuine wound-healing, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties. A clinical trial even found that plantain ointment improved healing of second-degree burns better than standard treatments. The traditional use is incredibly simple. Just crush a fresh leaf between your fingers and apply it directly to a sting, bite, or cut. Within minutes, pain and swelling begin to decrease, acting as a trailside emergency room that follows you wherever you go. Moringa is a plant so nutrient-dense that the World Health Organization has been recommending it to fight malnutrition in developing countries for decades. But it has been used as medicine in India, Africa, and the Middle East for more than 4,000 years. The Ayurvedic tradition says Moringa can treat 300 different diseases. And while that sounds like ancient hyperbole, the phytochemistry is genuinely extraordinary. The leaves contain isothiocyanates, quercetin, and chlorogenic acid, compounds with documented anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and blood sugar regulating effects. Clinical studies show Moringa supplementation can reduce fasting blood glucose levels and lower inflammation markers. It is also one of the few plants with all essential amino acids, making it a complete protein source. The traditional use is simple: dried Moringa leaf powder stirred into food or water daily. For anyone managing blood sugar, inflammation, or nutritional gaps, this is the plant that the pharmaceutical industry wishes it had patented decades ago. Ashwagandha has been the cornerstone of Ayurvedic medicine for over 3,000 years. The name translates roughly as the smell of a horse, because ancient physicians believed it gave you the strength and vitality of a horse. Modern clinical research has validated this in a way that surprised even skeptical pharmacologists. Multiple rigorous double-blind trials show ashwagandha root extract significantly reduces cortisol levels, which is our primary stress hormone, while also reducing symptoms of anxiety and depression and improving sleep quality. One landmark study showed a remarkable 27% reduction in cortisol after 60 days of supplementation. The active compounds are withanolides, steroidolactones found almost nowhere else in nature, that modulate the body's central stress response system. Traditionally, the root is dried and powdered, then mixed with warm milk and honey in the evening. For anyone dealing with chronic stress, poor sleep, or anxiety in a world that never seems to stop, this is the plant that 3,000 years of practitioners reached for first. If you're starting to see the pattern here, if you were realizing that the knowledge we need was never lost, just buried, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It helps this video reach the people who need it most. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and ring the bell. We are building something important here, and I'd love to have you as part of it. Turmeric has been used in Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine for over 4,000 years for wounds, infections, digestive problems, and inflammation. Modern pharmacology has studied curcumin, its primary active compound, in thousands of peer-reviewed studies, making it one of the most researched plant compounds in the world. The results are consistent and striking. Curcumin is a potent inhibitor of NF-κB, the master switch that controls inflammatory pathways throughout the body. Clinical trials show genuine benefits for osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, and metabolic syndrome. But here's what most people miss about turmeric. It is barely absorbed without black pepper. Traditional Ayurvedic preparations always combine turmeric with piperine, the compound in black pepper, which increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000%. This is ancient wisdom that biochemistry only confirmed in the 1990s. Golden milk, the traditional preparation of turmeric with warm milk, black pepper, and honey, isn't just comfort food. It is a clinically sound anti-inflammatory protocol. While elderberry works on the immune system from the inside, elderflower, the white blossoms from the same tree, was the traditional fever remedy that grandmothers across Europe swore by for centuries. And with good reason. Elderflower tea causes diaphoresis, which means it makes you sweat. In the context of a fever, this is exactly what you want, because sweating is your body's primary mechanism for breaking a fever and expelling pathogens. The flowers also contain bioflavonoids with genuine antiviral properties. Traditionally, a strong hot tea of dried elderflower is drunk at the first sign of a fever or cold, followed by getting into bed warmly covered. Within hours, you sweat through the fever. Elderflower got pushed aside as fever-reducing medications became standard. But modern immunology is rediscovering a crucial truth. A moderate fever is actually a feature, not a bug. It is your immune system doing its job. Elderflower helps your immune system do that job, rather than fighting against it. In India, Holy Basil, or Tulsi, is so revered it is called the Queen of Herbs. Every traditional Hindu home has a Tulsi plant. It has been used medicinally for over 3,000 years for everything from respiratory infections to anxiety to metabolic disorders. The modern research is extensive and surprisingly strong. Tulsi contains eugenol, rosmarinic acid, and ursolic acid, compounds with adaptogenic effects, meaning they help the body respond appropriately to both physical and psychological stress. Clinical studies show Tulsi reduces cortisol, improves cognitive function, and has significant anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial effects. It is also a potent immunomodulator, meaning it doesn't just stimulate the immune system, it regulates it. Traditionally, fresh Tulsi leaves are steeped in hot water as a daily tea, or several fresh leaves are chewed first thing in the morning. For anyone managing stress, frequent infections, or brain fog, this is the plant that an entire civilization built into their daily ritual. Valerian root has been used as a sleep remedy since ancient Greece and Rome. Hippocrates described its uses, and Galen prescribed it for insomnia in the 2nd century. The plant's name may come from the Latin valere, to be strong, to be healthy. Modern sleep research has investigated valerian extensively. Studies show valerian root extract reduces the time it takes to fall asleep, improves sleep quality, and reduces nighttime wakings, all without the dependence or morning grogginess associated with pharmaceutical sleep aids. The active compounds include valerianic acid, which appears to interact with GABA receptors in the brain. These are the same receptors targeted by anti-anxiety drugs, but valerian works through a gentler, non-dependency-forming mechanism. The traditional preparation is simple. The dried root is steeped as tea or taken as a tincture an hour before sleep. While it smells terrible, having a distinctly earthy, almost cheese-like odor, for millions of people dealing with stress-related insomnia, this is exactly what worked before sleeping pills existed. Echinacea was the most used medicinal plant by Native American tribes in the central and western United States. More than 30 different uses were documented across multiple tribes, primarily for infections, wounds, and immune support. European settlers adopted it quickly, and by the late 1800s, it was the best-selling herbal remedy in the United States. Then antibiotics arrived, and Echinacea was labeled a folk remedy. Now, research is reversing that verdict. A comprehensive meta-analysis of 58 clinical trials found that Echinacea preparations reduce the incidence of common colds by 35% and their duration by 1.4 days. The mechanism involves alkylamides that directly activate cannabinoid receptors involved in immune regulation, alongside polysaccharides that stimulate macrophage activity. Traditionally, the tincture or tea is taken at the very first sign of a cold or infection, rather than daily as a preventive. This is the plant that Native Americans knew, that mainstream medicine dismissed, and that clinical science is quietly admitting actually works. Ginger appears in the medical texts of virtually every civilization that has ever written them down, from ancient China and India to ancient Rome and medieval Europe. There's a reason for that cross-cultural consensus that goes far beyond tradition. Gingerols and showgales, the active compounds in fresh and dried ginger respectively, are among the most extensively studied plant compounds in natural medicine. Clinical trials confirm ginger's effectiveness for nausea, including chemotherapy-induced nausea and morning sickness in pregnancy. Studies also show it reduces osteoarthritis pain comparably to ibuprofen in some trials. Furthermore, it has genuine cardiovascular benefits, reducing platelet aggregation and improving lipid profiles. Its anti-inflammatory effects operate through the exact same pathways as many modern pain relievers. The traditional preparation involves grating fresh ginger root into hot water with lemon and raw honey for digestion and immunity, or using dried ginger in daily cooking for systemic anti-inflammatory effects. Ginger is so familiar it feels ordinary. But it isn't. It is one of the most pharmacologically complex healing plants ever studied. Hawthorn is the forgotten heart medicine. For over 2,000 years in the European herbal tradition, hawthorn berries, flowers, and leaves were the primary cardiac tonic, used for strengthening the heart, regulating heartbeat, and improving circulation. Modern cardiology has studied hawthorn more rigorously than most herbal remedies, and the results are clinically significant. Multiple controlled trials show hawthorn extract improves exercise tolerance in mild to moderate heart failure, reduces blood pressure, decreases symptoms of palpitations and shortness of breath, and improves coronary circulation. The active compounds dilate coronary arteries, reduce peripheral vascular resistance, and have antioxidant effects on cardiac tissue. Traditionally, hawthorn berry tea or tincture is taken daily as a cardiac tonic. To be clear, this is not a plant for acute cardiac emergencies. Those require medical attention immediately. But for long-term cardiovascular support and prevention, hawthorn is what cardiologists in places like Germany have been prescribing alongside conventional treatment for decades. It didn't disappear because it didn't work. It disappeared because it couldn't be patented. Chamomile is so familiar that we have completely forgotten it was once considered serious medicine. Those small, white, daisy-like flowers with yellow centers have been used medicinally since ancient Egypt. In fact, chamomile appeared in the Ebers Papyrus, one of the oldest medical documents in existence, as a remedy for fever. Modern research has validated chamomile's traditional uses across multiple systems. Clinical trials show chamomile extract reduces anxiety symptoms, improves sleep quality, and reduces gastrointestinal inflammation. The compound apigenin binds to receptors in the brain, the exact same targets as anti-anxiety drugs, but without the addiction risk. For the digestive system, it has genuine antispasmodic and anti-inflammatory effects, confirmed in studies on IBS and gastritis. Traditionally, a strong chamomile tea is used, not the barely flavored tea bags from supermarkets, but genuinely concentrated flower infusions. For anyone dealing with anxiety, digestive inflammation, or difficulty sleeping, chamomile is medicine that has been working for 4,000 years. We simply stopped believing it. And here we are at number 17, the one I told you about at the very beginning, Barberry. It has been used for over 2,000 years in Persian, Ayurvedic, and Chinese medicine. And modern science just confirmed it works against antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Barberry contains berberine, an alkaloid that has become one of the most intensively studied plant compounds in modern pharmacology. The evidence is truly extraordinary. Berberine has documented antimicrobial effects against bacteria, fungi, and parasites, including MRSA and other antibiotic-resistant strains. It has genuine anti-inflammatory effects. It reduces blood sugar and improves insulin sensitivity comparably to metformin in some clinical trials. It lowers cholesterol levels, and it has liver protective effects. In one meta-analysis of 27 clinical trials, berberine showed significant improvements in blood glucose, lipid profiles, and inflammatory markers in type 2 diabetes patients. The bright yellow inner bark of barberry roots is the medicinal part. Traditionally, it is prepared as a tincture or concentrated tea. The taste is intensely bitter, which is actually part of the therapeutic mechanism. Barberry is the ancient medicine that is becoming cutting edge again because we are running out of antibiotics. Everything old is new again. Lemon balm has been used as a calming, mood-lifting herb since at least the Middle Ages. Arab physicians used it for anxiety and depression. Paracelsus called it the elixir of life, and Carmelite nuns made it into a tonic sold across Europe as a remedy for nervous complaints from the 1600s onward. Modern neuroscience research shows lemon balm contains rosmarinic acid that inhibits the enzyme responsible for breaking down GABA, our main calming neurotransmitter. By inhibiting this breakdown, lemon balm increases GABA availability in the brain. Clinical trials demonstrate improvements in anxiety, mood, and cognitive performance in both healthy adults and people with mild anxiety disorders. Multiple studies on children and adults even show reduced symptoms of ADHD and improved sleep quality. Traditionally, fresh lemon balm leaves are steeped in cold or hot water and drunk throughout the day. It is mild enough to give to children. It grows aggressively in any garden, meaning fresh leaves can be used immediately. The fact that it grows like a weed and is completely free may be exactly why modern medicine never took it seriously. Psyllium, which comes from the seeds of the plantain plant, is so effective at supporting gut health that the FDA allows a specific health claim on commercial products containing it. Psyllium husk forms a thick gel in the gut that slows glucose absorption, reduces cholesterol, feeds beneficial bacteria, and regulates bowel movements for both diarrhea and constipation. But psyllium isn't a recent pharmaceutical discovery. It has been used in Indian Ayurvedic medicine for thousands of years as a digestive normalizer. Traditional healers ground the seeds and mix them with water to treat every kind of digestive complaint. Modern gastroenterology has confirmed the mechanism completely. The soluble fiber creates a prebiotic environment that fundamentally improves gut microbiome composition. Studies show benefits for IBS, high cholesterol, blood sugar regulation, and inflammatory bowel conditions. This is one of the most clinically validated plants on this entire list, and it costs almost nothing. The ancient physicians who prescribed it thousands of years ago didn't know why it worked. But we do now. And here we are at number 20. The one I saved for last because it represents everything we have talked about today. Meadowsweet. This is the plant that aspirin was based on. Before synthetic aspirin existed, people used Meadowsweet for pain, fever, and inflammation. Here is the history most people don't know. When chemists first synthesized aspirin in 1897, they derived it from salicylic acid, the exact same compound found in meadowsweet and willow bark. They even named the new drug after the old one. The Latin name for meadowsweet was Spirea ulmaria, meaning aspire, and takes its name directly from this flower. But here is the twist that changes everything. Meadowsweet doesn't cause the stomach irritation that aspirin famously does. Traditional herbalists actually used it to soothe stomach inflammation while simultaneously relieving pain and fever. The whole plant contains additional compounds that protect the gut lining while the salicylates do their work. It is aspirin, but better. The original, complete version. Meadowsweet grows in wet meadows across Europe and North America, featuring creamy white, cascading flower clusters with a sweet, almond-like fragrance in summer. Studies confirm its anti-inflammatory effects. Traditionally, a tea from the dried flowers and leaves is used for headaches, joint pain, fever, and digestive discomfort. This plant is the perfect ending to this list because it shows us exactly what we did. We took nature's medicine, isolated one compound, manufactured it synthetically, and ended up with something less balanced and more harmful than the original. Meadowsweet is still there, still growing, still working exactly as it always did, waiting for us to remember that sometimes the natural version really is better than the copy. If you made it all the way to the end, you have just discovered something important. The healing knowledge we need was never truly lost. It was just set aside, replaced by things that are easier to manufacture, patent, and sell. These 20 plants aren't folklore, and they aren't superstition. They are legitimate medicine, validated by modern science, that have been working for thousands of years. So here's what I want you to do. Smash that like button if this video changed the way you think about the plants growing around you. Drop a comment below and tell me which plant surprised you the most. And if you haven't subscribed to Ancient Roots Healing yet, what are you waiting for? Hit that button and ring the bell. We post every week connecting forgotten plant wisdom with modern science, because your health deserves both. I'll see you in the next one.